I can still hear the sound of that laughter. It wasn't a laugh of joy or friendship. It was the kind of laughter that freezes in the air and becomes an invisible knife. The kind of sound that says, "Who do you think you are?" And more than that, "You're never going to make it." They laughed when I said, in front of everyone, that I wouldn't marry just any man. I'd wait for the one who could give me the world. And I knew that the world in my early 20s was synonymous with wealth. I wanted a diamond ring, but not just any ring. I wanted the kind of diamond that would be big enough to silence their laughter forever. They laughed, but what happened next would change everything they knew about what it truly means to have wealth. My life, before all of this, seemed like an endless play. I lived in a small town where the stage of our lives was the main square, and everyone was always watching, always judging. On that stage, the script was clear. If you marry well, you live well. I spent years memorizing lines, practicing the right expressions, wearing the costume of a woman of value. But inside, I was just a girl who didn't feel good enough, who was afraid. I believed that money didn't buy happiness, but it could buy security. And I needed security so badly that I was willing to trade my authenticity for it. I saw love as a transaction. I would offer my beauty, my youth, my loyalty, and in return, I expected a future without fear. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for a safe harbor, a golden shield against all the uncertainties of the world. Like this video if you believe true wealth is in our inner peace. And if you relate, share it with your friends. Today, I know that when you love someone more than you love yourself, you're not loving, you're losing yourself. And I was losing myself. My friends supported me, or at least they pretended to. They said I deserved the best, but I could feel the competition and envy hidden behind their smiles. I was the group's great hope, the one who was supposed to win the game. They were cheering me on, but they were ready to mock my fall if my gamble didn't pay off. I was the girl who talked about the man of my dreams, but who was really talking about the life of my dreams. And it was a life based on what outsiders would consider a success. Intuition is rarely wrong. What is wrong is our need to be right about who we love or who we want to love us. I ignored the signs all the time. Every time a guy treated me with kindness but didn't have the status I was looking for, I would pull away. It was a pattern. It was as if my mind said he was too good to be enough. I remember a date with an architect. He didn't have a luxury car or an expensive watch, but he had a gentle look and made me laugh. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was in a job interview, but I rationalized it. He was just a nice guy, and nice wasn't the word I wanted to define me. I wanted the word lucky. I was so focused on building a fairy tale life for the world to see that I didn't realize I was building a prison for my soul. I remember a moment I almost caught myself. I was at a restaurant with a rich guy and he wouldn't stop talking about the value of my ring. It was a ring I bought for myself, a cheap replica, and I felt a chill in my stomach. He didn't see the person I was. He only saw the value of the object. That was a moment of almost discovery. For a split second, I saw myself from the outside. The girl I was becoming didn't make me proud, but I distracted myself with the dinner bill and the idea of a worry-free life. And on that very same day, something was happening that would change everything. If this story speaks to you, subscribe for more narratives that inspire you to find your inner strength. The revelation was so devastating that I was never the same again. But the biggest betrayal wasn't from a partner. It was the one I committed against myself, by trading my value for validation. His name was Arthur. He was everything my wish list said a rich man should be. He had a company, lived in a penthouse, and was charming. He wooed me with expensive dinners, trips to exotic places, and extravagant gifts. And over time, I allowed myself to believe he was the one. And he was, but not in the way I expected. He took me on a trip. It was supposed to be the most romantic of all. He proposed to me at the top of a mountain with the sun setting. He opened a box, and inside was a diamond ring. It was big. It was perfect. It was the ring I had imagined my whole life. And I looked at it and felt nothing. It was a weight, not of joy. It was the weight of my own choice, my own mistake. The ring was huge, but the emptiness was even bigger. He looked at me, waiting for an answer. And all I could think was, what am I doing here? I didn't love him. I loved the idea of him. And worse, I wasn't truly loving myself. I went back to the hotel alone. I couldn't breathe. Guilt and panic consumed me. I called my mom and confessed everything. For the first time in years, I told the truth. I told her I never really wanted a rich man. I just wanted to be validated. And she told me something that changed everything. She said the greatest wealth a person can have is the peace of a clear conscience. That the greatest diamond isn't the one that shines, but the one that doesn't weigh you down. In that moment, I understood. Betrayal isn't about what was done to you. It's about what you allow to be done to you from now on. And I wouldn't allow it anymore. Revenge is temporary. Transformation is forever. And when you choose to transform, you've already won. My transformation was silent. I didn't tell anyone I didn't get married. I simply disappeared for a while. I cut off contact with the people who made me feel insufficient. I started doing things I loved, not things that made me look good to the world. I started reading psychology books, learning about self-worth, and reconnecting with my inner voice. I started to understand that trauma isn't what happens to you, but what happens inside you. And that my patterns of seeking validation came from a wound that needed to be healed. I needed the courage to be vulnerable, to accept who I truly was. My new life wasn't luxurious. It was authentic. And little by little, that authenticity brought me closer to people who loved me for who I was. I was no longer in search of a ring. I was in search of peace. Time passed. One day, I bumped into my old friends at a coffee shop. I was happy. And my happiness didn't need justifications or fanfare. And they, of course, asked about my marriage. They asked if I had gotten married, and to whom. And I said, with a calm smile, that yes, I had gotten married, and that I had the diamond ring. And to their shock, I held up my hand. I wasn't wearing a diamond ring. I was wearing a simple silver band that I had bought for myself. And that's when I told them my story. I told them that in the end, I married myself. I told them that the diamond wasn't material, but rather the certainty that my peace was worth more than any precious stone. The ring on my hand was a symbol of my pact with my dignity, with my soul. It was proof that I had found the greatest wealth of all. They fell silent, a different silence than the laughter from the past. It was a silence of surprise, of shock, perhaps even a bit of envy for the peace I was radiating. The search for external validation is a prison we build for ourselves, and only we can find the key. The diamond ring on my hand wasn't a symbol of wealth. It was a symbol of freedom. Because when you truly love and respect yourself, you don't need jewelry to prove your worth to anyone. The greatest shine doesn't come from a diamond, but from the light you ignite within yourself. If this story made you think that your own light is your greatest treasure, comment below. I am my diamond. If you want more stories from people who chose to shine on their own, subscribe. And like it if you believe that true wealth is the peace we find when we are true to ourselves.